Hello and welcome to Geoscope on Politics Social. Apologies for the fact that it's just me. It's just me today. Ollie couldn't make it today, and we were going to do it tomorrow instead. But I can't do tomorrow night because I'm going to the cinema. So I'll just adjust my screen because it doesn't look quite right. Why does it not look quite right? Oh, it's because I've got the background thing on. Just one moment while I just adjust my windows here. One sec. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. There we go. That's it. Better. Okay. So big shout out to Billy Kershaw. It's been there for ages. Peter Paints. Hello. How you doing? We've also got Duke Vengeance in the chat. We've got Sarah Davis. We've got David Juarez. We've got Dark 4x4. We've got Anthony Fisher. We've got Simon Smith. We've got Roxy Rules saying evening all. So if you would like to join in tonight's chat, if you just hit the subscribe button, and then you can join in the chat. So we've got a few things to talk about tonight. Thought we'd start maybe with, should we start with the hurricane that's bearing down? Hurricane Milton, hot on the heels of Hurricane Helene, which terrorized North Carolina, which is a ridiculous place for a hurricane to go because it's up in the mountains and no one was prepared for it in any way, shape or form because it was up in the mountains. In fact, one of the towns that was completely destroyed by the hurricane, pretty much leveled by it, was on the list of places to go to avoid climate change. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's nowhere to go to avoid climate change because it's the world. The world's climate is changing. Doesn't matter where you live, you're not immune from it. You live in a dry place, you think you're not going to get much rain? Fine, cool, just have some forest fires for you. You live in the desert, forest, oh great, well you can have some floods like they did at the Burning Man Festival last year. Do you live anywhere near the sea? Okay, well you can have a big storm surge, which is like a wall of water just coming in. Not like a wave which comes in and then dissipates. This just stays there. This just stays there for a very, very long time. The last massive storm surge, obviously, was 20 years ago. Hurricane Katrina, which smacked into New Orleans. Big, massive 20-foot wall of water, which stayed for several hours and took out everything up to 6 miles inland. So that's what the poor people of Tampa in Florida have got to look forward to tomorrow evening when this Hurricane Milton, then presumably after John Milton, who wrote Paradise Lost, maybe? I don't know. Seems somewhat ironic. Hits into Florida. But the mad thing is, right, we need to talk about this. The Republicans, the evil party, the Darth party of Darth Trump, has been saying that they've been putting out these lies. They've been saying that FEMA's not been responding when it totally has. They've also been saying that that people have only been given 750 quid in compensation or something. No, that's an immediate payment for like somewhere to stay and food and energy for a few days. It's just an immediate payment that they work out who needs what. The same people who are complaining about the Biden administration not doing enough to help the people of North Carolina are also the people who just 2 weeks ago in Congress, voted down further funding for FEMA, which is the emergency response unit of the American government. In fact, well, let's go one stage further. Trump, under his Project 2025 manifesto, wants to get rid of FEMA. Like literally wants to defund it, get rid of it, strip it of all of its powers to respond to disasters. He also, and here's a good one, he wants to get rid of the American equivalent of the Met Office, the NOAA, so that in future, when something like this happens, Americans won't know what to do because they won't have the information free to them. I mean, if you're rich, you'll be fine, of course. If you're rich, you'll be fine. It's the rule, isn't it? Because you can download some information from some other government's meteorological office or something. I don't know. But for most people, they won't know that a storm is coming. They won't know that a hurricane is coming. They won't know that a storm surge is coming. And there'll be no one left to pick up the pieces afterwards. So they won't know to go. So they'll stay in their homes. Presumably the homes will just collapse on top of them. And then, the few that will survive will die shortly after through exposure and disease, because there won't be any FEMA. Because they've got to get rid of it. Because only rich people deserve to survive the zombie apocalypse. Sorry, not zombie, climate change apocalypse. So Ron DeSantis is the the governor of the state of Florida. And a few months ago, this is mind-blowing. Prepare to have your mind blown. He passed a law removing the term climate change from over 100 pieces of government legislation in Florida, because he doesn't think climate change is real, because it's perfectly normal for one storm to follow another within a matter of days, with the potential to literally flatten a massive corridor through central Florida, which looks like is exactly what's about to happen. And yet, the Trumpers are still going to vote for Trump. They're still going to vote for no one to help them in these situations, because there's nothing worse, there's nothing more terrifying for these people. It's someone saying, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. That was a joke that Ronald Reagan made in the 1980s. A joke that the Republicans now see as their holy mission in life, to destroy government departments. Now, if you want to see what life is like when you take out all these government departments, needless government spending, needless bureaucracy and regulations, have a look at Argentina. Because under Javier Milei, the president who was elected last year, he's got rid of a load of federal agencies in Argentina, or government agencies, you should say, in Argentina. And as a result, over 50% of the people in Argentina are now living below the poverty line. As a direct result of what Milei has done to his own country. Well, there you go. What movie are you going to watch? I'm going to tell you, but you're not allowed to spoil it. We're going to see The Substance with Demi Moore. I'm not going with her to see it. It's just got her in it. I'm quite excited about it. Apparently, it's it's a pretty strange movie. But I'm a bit ick about body horror. I always have been, ever since I watched The Fly as a child. And so, I think, I don't know how much of it I'm going to watch. I might just have my eyes closed. I'm not going to see Joker 2, because I didn't like Joker 1. And apparently, if you didn't like Joker 1, you might like Joker 2. But if you did like Joker 1, you won't like Joker 2. But I didn't really like Joker 1, but I don't think I like Joker 2 either, because it's not the Joker. It might be a story about someone who's a bit mad in an asylum somewhere. Let's say New York. That's fine. But Joker, it's not my Joker. Anyway, moving on. New Orleans' response was disgraceful, says Billy Kershaw. It absolutely was. That was under a Republican administration, and their response to disasters has always been terrible. Let's talk about Trump's response to the forest fires in California when he was in power, when he said, I'm not going to give them any aid whatsoever because they don't vote for me. And he had his aides had to go up to him and show him how many people in that particular area voted for him. So he went, okay, then I'll give them some aid. We've heard some other fun stuff about Trump today. According to Bob Woodward, one of the writers of one of the Watergate investigators, famous Watergate investigators, who's been doing a biography of Trump, or at least writing about him. Apparently, at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, he gifted a couple of COVID testing machines to none other than Vladimir Putin. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Vladimir goddamn Putin. Because, nothing says I love America like gifting stuff in the time of a pandemic that would be really useful for saving American lives to the Russian dictator. Apparently, Putin reportedly told Trump, please don't tell anyone you sent these to me. Trump said, I don't care. Fine. Putin was said to have replied, no, I don't want you to tell anyone because people will get mad at you, not me. They don't care about me. Oh, and by the way, Putin and Trump have spoken at least 7 times since Trump was yeeted ejected from office by the American people back in 2020. Fun. Got another Trump story coming up as well. But first of all, I'm going to say thank you so much to Puninator. Thank you, sir. That's very, very kind of you. I realise if I make the super chat come up, it's just going to come up in the middle of my face. Looks in my face. Move it down. There you go. In response to the question in the thumbnail, Graham, it's lucky for us that a lot of males seem to think with their head first and not the one on their head. And this could save us. By the way, where is Bowler Hatman? But Ollie's got stuff to do tonight. And he said, should we do it tomorrow? And I was like, normally, under normal circumstances, absolutely. But this is my one trip to the cinema in a very long time, so I've booked it anyway. So go with Ben Chambers of 16 Million Rising, or Single-Minded Rejoiners, as he's now changed the name of his channel to. Well worth checking out. He's a very, very, very good radio DJ. He's got one of those fantastic radio voices, and he does a bang-on impression of Matt Berry. Like, seriously, his impression of Matt Berry is just mwah, chef's kiss. Okay, so thanks, Puninator, for that. But yes, hello, and you're going to be sick because the substance is very icky, but a decent commentary on Hollywood beauty standards. Well, that's what I've heard, Alexander. But yeah, I've heard that it's a bit like that. So yeah, I'll take me big bucket of popcorn, and I'm just making. Just making me screen a little bit smaller. So you can see a bit more of the scrolling text. I'll take me bucket of popcorn, and if I'm feeling sick, I'll tip out all the popcorn onto the floor, and then I'll be sick into the popcorn bucket. Only joke. I would never do that. Because it's horrible for the people that have to clean up. Do you hear Welsh water has been fined over £20 million? Says Sarah Davis. I hadn't heard that, but I had heard that the government were going to make water companies basically cut people's water costs as a fine. Okay, F it, I lied. It's Graham Hughes. What you going to do? Says Dark 4x4. I'm getting at there. One Angry Pagan says, America has some very good paleontologists. They know climate change is real, like me, have studied the history of life on Earth. PBS Terra is a really good climate change YouTube channel too. Yes, I mean, the government of any country does not represent the people of the country. It just doesn't. Well, you shouldn't judge people of a country by the actions of the government of that country. Because usually there's a bit of chicanery that's gone on, a bit of jiggery pokery, and that a party that has got actually a minority of the vote has actually got the majority of the seats, which is a bit unfair. A minority of the votes, a majority of the power. Yeah, it's one of those things. Democracies, it's an empty lie, sang the Manic Street Preachers a long time ago. I don't know if they were that wrong, but as Winston Churchill is supposed to have said, it's a terrible system, but it's the least bad of the lot. Anthony Fisher heard apparently water companies have been fined 157 million, and that'll be given back to customers. That's what I've heard, Anthony Fisher, in lower bills. Anyway, world news. So yes, Deloitte. There's a company called Deloitte in America. They're a big company, and they get attacked now by the Trump bros, like that black guy who got beaten up by two white guys at the weekend. I don't know if anyone saw the pictures of this. Literally. Never expected the leopards to eat my face. Black guy, covered in, Trump stuff, Trump cap, Trump umbrella, scarf, top, trousers, underpants, don't know, whatever. Trump golden shoes, maybe. Trump watch. And he's been set upon by two white Trump supporters, bedecked in Trump regalia. Never expected the leopards to eat my face, said that man. Anyway, so we've done Trump, we've done Deloitte. Yeah, so Deloitte, one of their employees leaked messages between the employee and JD Vance from a few years ago, which was seen as damaging to JD Vance. So Deloitte are now being attacked by the MAGA lunatics, which is never a good place to be. And it makes me very glad that I'm on this side of the pond, not the other one. Sorry for going off about water, Graham. It's fine, Anthony. We love tangents on this show. Well, on this channel. I mean, we're all about the all about the tangents. Scott hasn't been to the cinema since 1992. That's why so many cinemas are closing down, Scott. It's all your fault. Dot by 4x4. Does that mean we're also going to miss Intersection again this week? I don't know. We might be doing an intersection tomorrow, but I think Rachel's still on holiday. So if she's still on holiday, then we won't be able to do the intersection. But we've got an exciting guest lined up for a week after, when I'll be in London. I'll be in London next week, getting my American visa. You're going to hear all about it. I'm going to bore you to death. Super tiny 808. Ooh, we are watching porn again tonight. Well, no, but maybe. No, we're not. So basically, there's a bit in Project 2025, that, manifesto for the Republican Party and MAGA when they get in, along with getting rid of the NOAA and get rid of FEMA and get rid of all the government officers that they don't want because they only help poor people, and who wants to help them? It only helps the poor Trump voters. I say, let them crash. Anyway, so the one of the things in there, along with not letting gay people have a family and backtracking on gay weddings, gay marriages, also banning outright any kind of gender-affirming care for children or for adults. Also a nationwide ban of abortion. So no medical place, hospital can carry out procedures that will lead to the termination of a fetus. Even if the mother's life is on the line, because it has to be adjudicated by a judge. So if you're dying in bed because you've got an ectopic pregnancy, you have to get a judge on the phone. I don't know, will yourself bleeding into the courtroom and beg a judge to let you live if you're a woman, and say this is all part of 2025. But the one that is going to actually stick out for men, misogynistic, horrible men who like things like Trump and Andrew Tate and all that lot. Project 2025 is religious. It's very religious. It's all very wholesome. And they want to ban porn. Genuinely, they want to not only ban porn, but they want to put the people who make porn in jail. Now, I don't know that much about America. It's not my country. I do find it a little bit funny, It's a little bit schizophrenic, America, isn't it? On one hand, there's this puritanical, evangelical Christianity. And the other hand, the biggest porn market in the world. I think their porn sales outstrip Hollywood, pun intended. And the MAGA lot want to take that away from Americans. And the thing is, I've not looked at the actual statistics today, but someone could look it up for me while you're watching this. It is, if you want to type this into Google, it is something like 50% of all men aged between, 14 and 45, let's say, watch porn every day. Like 50% in America every day. What I like to do, if I'm ever having to do some research into these stag movies, these pornographic movies, I get my VPN. I set it to a particular state that I don't like in America. And I search for the most messed up stuff. So it comes up on their stats. I don't do that. It's a joke. It's something that you could do if you felt like it. Anyway, so porn actors have got together. There's about 17 of them who have got together, and they've raised about $100,000, which is quite impressive, to run adverts on, I assume, Pornhub, X-Hamster, the other sites, to run before the porn starts, saying, hands off our porn. Don't vote for the Trump, basically. Vote for Vance and don't vote for Vance. Don't vote for Vance. Vote for Harris and vote and Waltz, for God's sake. Don't let them take our porn away. This is actually happening. Oh my God. This is really going on. This is 2024, people. Imagine if you fell into a coma 10 years ago and you just woke up today. You would be looking around going, what happened? I'm out of it for a little while, and everyone starts getting delusions of grandeur. I thought this was Geo, not Porno. Yeah. Pornoscope with Graham Hughes. Tim Ballum, thank you very much for the £10 super chat there, mate. It's all stemming from Opus Dei, which is a weird thing, that, isn't it? Because isn't that a Catholic organisation? Isn't that super Christian, super Catholic, super conservative organisation? I didn't think the Catholics had that much power in America. I know the evangelicals do, but they're Protestants, aren't they? They're not Catholics. They look down on Catholics. I mean, there was a big thing about JFK being the first Catholic president. Like, oh my God, we're going to have a Catholic as a president. Ooh, that'd be like Britain having a Catholic on the throne. We can't have that, can we? We can now. We changed the laws. Anyway, Dark 4x4 says, you can also buy a lot of Bitcoin and get some crazy shit. Yeah, I guess so. I wonder how many people who are Trump voters actually want to get porn banned, says Maggie Pie. None of them. None of them. Like, honestly. I mean, yeah, it's like these people say, who admit that they watch porn every day. I mean, there's people who just don't. But I guess that's based on IP addresses. I don't know. Like, they know where people are coming from. Unless you're using a VPN and you're pretending that you're coming from Wyoming when you're really not. But, you want Wyoming to be known as the... I'm not going to say it. If I scripted all this, I could make up some really messed up stuff, but you might have just had your dinner. So I'm going to leave that for now. But yeah, it might be the one thing that actually gets through to the Trump voters. Because for all this time, I've been asking this question of like, what will it take? What will be the tipping point where people go, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to vote for Trump. Like, it's gone too far. He's too mad. He's too unlikable. He's too orange. He's too much of a rapist. He's too much of a criminal. He's too much of an insurrectionist. He's too much of a cop killer. Like, he's too much of all these things. Like, they don't care. They don't care. But this, it will actually affect the people who vote for Trump, because I guarantee that the vast majority of them are not rich enough to be able to afford their own porn channel. Like the rich can actually afford that, so they could actually pay people to perform in front of them. Whereas the plebs like you and me can't necessarily afford that, But also Trump voters are a bit thick, so that's good because it means they won't know to use a VPN. Anyway, Tim Ballon, thank you very much. Opus Dei have the Supreme Court, says Tim Ballon. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, the fact that Trump has managed to put like 3 people in the Supreme Court, and two of them are going to retire if he becomes president again. Clarence Thomas and one of the other ones, the older ones, and he's going to put someone in their 40s or 50s in there, and that is going to set American laws for the next 50 years. An unelected bench of supreme, divine right sovereigns, kings and queens in America, presiding over what's legal and what's not. They are like little Judge Dredd sitting in their little robes, saying, "I will make it legal," like your little man from Star Wars, P. Palpatine. Yes, Leonard Leo is a knight of the Sovereign Order, Military Order of Malta, a Catholic lay religious order. So Leonard Leo, which is a ridiculous name because it basically means his name is Leo. I mean, what? Leo is the man behind Project 2025, and also he's the man behind the stuffing of the Supreme Court and Trump's mentality and all that kind of thing. A lot of it stems from what Leo basically told the Republican Party to do several years ago. I mean, this all started in 2010. Well, it started a long time before that. It started with Reagan, but this assault on democracy by the MAGA Republicans, let's call them, or just the Republican Party, what it was. It started in January 2010 when the Supreme Court decided the Citizens United case, which was basically asking whether political donations could be capped. Like, is there too much? Should we not allow foreign donations from just any old random Russian oligarchs, for instance, or any old sheikh from the Arabian Peninsula, for instance, who might have a vested interest in America continuing to burn oil like there is no tomorrow. There is a tomorrow. It's just going to be as livable as today. But yeah, they decided to back-heel that idea that there should be any kind of limitations on donations, and that's why the caps are off, and basically the most evil rich people in the world can now buy themselves a senator or a representative or a mayor or a governor or, even better, a president. So yeah, and that this is all Leonard Leo's concept. He's he's not a very nice man. And apparently he's a religious fundamentalist. Essentially, America's been taken over by Islamists. That's what they would call them if they were Muslim. They're not Muslim, they're Christians, so they don't call them Islamists. But that's essentially what they are. Fundamental Christians, like people who don't actually care about the Bible or what Jesus said, or try to live their lives like Jesus. They just want power, and they see the Bible as a fantastic way of getting power and killing people because that's all they get off on. They're like that doctor in that episode of Black Mirror who can only get off when he incurs pain on other people. That is the rich everywhere in the world. Everywhere. They're just absolute psychos. I know there's a few notable exceptions like Taylor Swift, but those mega rich people around the world, generally 99.9% psychopaths. Absolute psychopaths. And you can see it. You can see they don't care about the future of the planet. They just care about the bottom line. You even get people like Bill Gates, who everyone thinks is all right now. He's not. He only set up the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to get away from the fact that at the time, I don't know if you guys remember 25 years ago, I do, Bill Gates was the most hated man in the world. He was the Elon Musk of 1999, and he needed to turn his image around. But, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, it's not as, rosy as it might seem. It's not as wholesome as it might seem. A lot of the money gets invested from Microsoft, and they put it into the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's great. People give money. That's great. There's no law. There's no rules on what the foundation spends the money on. And you know what? You're right. Like, a lot of it has been spent wisely on stuff like Malaysia, malaria, anti-malaria factors in and treatment in Africa, and that's been great. They've been doing some really great research into a vaccine against malaria. Malaria kills millions of people every year around the world, and it's an absolute nightmare because it's a parasite. It's technically a parasite. It's not a virus. So having a vaccine against it isn't like a normal vaccine. Anyway, so some of the money has gone on that, but not all of it. Some of it's gone to other things, like, I don't know, research projects that help fund Microsoft or one of the other companies that Bill Gates owned. It's a bit of a tax dodge, don't you know? So, not entirely whiter than white, or pure than pure, we should say. And then we don't get, that the worrying notion that white people are somehow better, because they're really not. All the people who've done horrible things to me in my life pretty much have been white. Yoni, thank you very much for the €2. Corporate suffrage, one book, one vote. Well, indeed, mate. In bloody deed. The Texas Taliban, yep. Oh. Christianists, says Anthony Fisher. I like that. Tim Bannon, another 10 pound. You're being very generous this evening, Tim. I'm glad I did the show. I wasn't going to. I was going to leave it because Ollie wasn't going to be here, and I thought, I'll bore you all to death. It was just me yakking on for an hour. But here we are. Thank you very much. Anyone interested, look up Leonard. I keep trying to say Leonard for some reason. Leonard Leo, or search for the Opus Dei connection. How mysterious, blah, blah, blah. Yes, absolutely. John Oliver. Oh, my elbow just disappeared. John Oliver did a piece about these loons, about Leo last week, I think, on Last Week Tonight. If you can watch that, you can watch it on YouTube, if you've got a VPN. And you set it to, I don't know, Alabama. Alexander Campbell, thank you very much for the £5 super chat, my friend. USA, fall of democracy and the rise of the corporate oligarchy. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's where we are today. The oligarchs have taken absolute power away from the people of America. And so many people are sleepwalking into this. And if you presented it to them as like a thing, just, here you go. Here's this thing where you get no rights. You have to work every hour God sends, and you'll never own a house. You have to do all this stuff, and if you have a heart attack, we'll look after you, don't worry. If you have a second heart attack, hey, you're on your own, mate. If you have a baby, that'll be £58,000, please. Dollars, sorry. Don't get ill. Don't get ill. Don't be old. Don't be disabled. Nice system they have in America. And basically, they're doing what they've done in other countries, including this one, which is the rich have taken away the rights of everybody else. They've taken our freedoms. They've taken our rights. The right to vote in America. If you are rich, you have more of a right to have a say over things. They talk about the freedom of speech. Some speech is freer than others. Some speech goes further than others. Most of us, if we, are upset about something, the only people who find out about it are maybe our partner, maybe our dog, maybe our mates down the pub. But it's not the same as if Elon Musk tweets it to his 80 million followers, 99% of whom are bots, but that's not the point. Anthony Fisher, thank you very much. Will a certain rapper be let off if we get Trump too? Ooh, are you talking about pedo Diddy? I don't think so. Because he didn't get his mate, what's his name? Epstein off, did he? Might have had him killed, though. Puddinator, thank you very much for the super chat. Loads of super chats tonight. Thank you so much, everyone. If Project 2025 happens, how long before MAGA starts up? By the way, can they start with the Bible filled with nudity and sex? It's like the original Playboy. It is. There's a section in the Bible about men who have penises like horses. Yeah. There's also a section about a priest, a Levite priest. Was it a Levite priest? Where it goes into a town and people come in and they say, we want to have sex with this man. And the people who own the house say, no, don't have sex with this man. And the guy says, well, it's all right. You can have my concubine. Do with her what you please. It's in Judges, by the way, if you want to look it up. So he throws the concubine out on the street and the men abuse her all night. Like they literally rape her all night. And in the morning, she's there on the doorstep at the house and the priest says, come on, get up, let's go. And the woman doesn't because she's dead. She's been literally raped to death. This is in the Bible. Great story. Let's read this in Sunday school. Anyway, so the priest picks up the woman and the dead body, puts it on the back of his mule, I guess, goes home, cuts her up into pieces, cuts her body up into pieces, and then sends the pieces to the different 12 tribes of Israel or something. I don't know. It's really weird. And it happens in the Bible. You know the story, don't you, of Lot. You've heard of Lot's wife, haven't you? She turned into a pillar of salt because, like Orpheus's wife, Eurydice, she turned around when she wasn't supposed to. I'm not saying that this was a bit of a rip-off of someone else's myth, but it just seems a bit odd that they both involve a man trying to save a woman from a hellish place, and she turns around when she wasn't supposed to, and they both end up dying as a result. Anyway, so she turns into a pillar of salt. But Lot is the only person in the whole of Sodom and Gomorrah who is noble and nice. Everyone else is a bit mean. Everyone else is a bit horrible. And he goes off to a cave with his 2 daughters. And they're like, oh dear, everybody else in the world is dead apart from us 3. I better we start, I guess we start repopulating the world now, eh, Dad? And Lot goes, no, you're my daughters. That's really messed up. What's wrong with you? And they go, oh shit, let's get him drunk. And then we'll get him drunk and then we'll rape him. We'll rape her. This actually happens in the Bible. And they both have babies with their dad. That's in the Bible. It is. There's a bit where some kids make fun of a prophet for being bald. And God sends 2 she-bears down to tear the children asunder. That's in the Bible. Nice. There's loads of really messed up. So Samson, don't get me started on Samson. He's the first suicide bomber. Mr. Samson, nice guy. He made a riddle up. He said, oh, you got to do my riddle. You got to do my riddle, and I'll give you some coats. And they all, okay, all right, we'll answer your riddle then. And the riddle was, I took something sweet from something strong, and he meant honey from a dead lion's carcass. And that's why on the cover of the Tate and Lyle golden syrup, there's a dead lion on the label with flies around it. No, they're not flies, they're bees. They're making honey out of something strong. I took something sweet. Anyway, so Delilah, Samson's wife, she tells the people what the answer to the riddle is, because who cares, it's only a riddle. And Samson gets really annoyed and kills a bunch of people and takes their coats off them. Like 20 people just get randomly murdered by him in a rage. And he takes the blood-soaked coats off them and then gives over the coats and says, here, have your coats, have your blood-stained coats, you bastards, solving my riddle. It's in the Bible. He's one of the heroes as well. You can tell I was a choir boy, can't you? Also, MAGA stands for Make America Jerk Again. I was going to ask that. I thought it was going to stand for something cool like Make America Jamaica again. That would be quite fun. But thank you very much, Puninator, for the £2 super chat there. That's very kind. Jerkin for Jesus offers Alf Smith, indeed. One of the questions I've always asked people who are quite religious, and they get upset with me when I ask it, but was Jesus like a man? Yes. Was he entirely mortal? Like he was a man. He was a boy. He grew up. He got pubes. He was a man. Yeah. Yes, entirely. I'm like, well, you see, the thing is, right, being a man, and we know that Jesus didn't hook up with anyone, unless you read the Bible, that he does get with Mary Magdalene, but in the standard text, he doesn't have a partner. He's a loner, he's a hermit, not a hermit, he's a bachelor about town, and he doesn't get with anyone. And I'm like, well, just from a biological standpoint, like, if you're a man, then you don't do anything for a very long time. There's a point where usually, I mean, I can't say for all men, but a lot of men, most men, the vast majority of men, there'll come a point where basically you need a release. You need to stir the tanks, as they said in Apollo 13. And here's my question. So, if you don't do that, then there's a good chance you'll have, nocturnal emissions, let's say. Wet dreams, just to get rid of the stuff. So, the question is, did Jesus have one up the wrist, or was it sticky sheets in the morning? We want to know. But I don't... They get very upset when they come round here, the Jehovah's Witnesses, especially when there's a kid with them. Graham Hughes reading the real Bible. Just don't wear a cross if you swear, Graham. That's fine, mate. Take me to a church. I'm like Damien out the Omen. I'm like, don't take me to a church. No, I like churches. Beautiful old buildings. Anthony says, I feel like in a few years we'll not be able to look at the 90s to noughties music the same, similar to how we can't watch the 70s TV shows because of the presenter and because of the BBC and its presenter like Savile. Yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff that is going to come out, but I will state now that people knew back in the 1970s that Jimmy Savile was a wrong-un. Johnny Rotten, John Lydon, said on TV that he was a wrong-un. He said, no, Jimmy Savile, he's, one of them. And, everyone just ignored it. And the same thing happened with Russell Brand. Like everyone was saying at the time, this guy is a rapist. He is a rapist. He rapes women. That's what he does. He is a sexual predator. And everyone ignored them. And now he's a born-again Christian, apparently. Right. Anyway, Alf Smith says he used the Turin shroud as a wank bag. Oh my God, Alf. That's gone even further than me. And he did take the knuckles, and the knuckles were 5. Says Billy. Anyway, so we're going to move on to a little bit more of a serious topic for the end of the show today, because obviously we can't go on talking about what's happening in the world without mentioning what's going on in the Middle East. I'm sorry, there's going to be a bit of a gear change because we were taking the piss a little bit out of Trump and that over in the States. But it's now the 1 year and 1 day anniversary of the October the 7th attacks, which were perpetrated by Hamas in Israel. Over 1,000 people were brutally murdered, and hundreds of hostages were taken. There's still over 100 hostages that are being held by Hamas. And Israel overreacted, as everybody knew they would, including Hamas, when they planned this operation. They said Israel will overreact, and we will get so many martyrs, all the martyrs, 41,000 martyrs. So it's awful on all sides. And now Lebanon is being dragged into it because of Hezbollah, and Iran is joining in, and Yemen is getting dragged into it because of the Houthis over there. And it is terrifying what is happening for the people who live in this region of the world, the vast majority of whom just want peace. And we're not hearing that. We're not hearing their stories, because we are concentrating on what Benjamin Netanyahu wants you to think, what Hamas want you to see, what Hezbollah want you to see, instead of concentrating on what the vast majority of people, even in Israel, want, which is peace. The whole point of Israel, and we did a video on this a few weeks ago, the whole point of Israel, the whole notion, the concept, the idea of Israel was somewhere where Jews could feel safe. And not a single person in Israel tonight is going to bed feeling safe. I'll tell you that now. And that is a failure of the government. That is a failure of the government to create peace in that region. They could create peace if they wanted to, but they were quite happy to pen in the people in Gaza for months, years on end. Pen them in. Don't let them go anywhere. Don't let them get on a flight to London or visit their family in Australia. No, they're going to stay in there. They're not going to leave. We'll put up a big fence and we're going to control every aspect of their lives from afar. We're not actually on the streets. It's fine. Knowing that Hamas will stock up weapons. And then every couple of years, I'll fire those weapons into Israel and Israel will respond disproportionately. And we were going round and round in this kind of madness, the madness of doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result. And now we have the situation where it's gone beyond that. We've had a year of violence, a year of unspeakable acts of terror, of carnage, of sexual abuse on all sides. No one is coming out of this looking particularly well. No one looks like the good guys to me. They really don't. And everyone's got a justification. Oh, we're just defending ourselves. We've got a right to defend ourselves, right? Hey, yeah, no. Sorry, but if you murder civilians trying to get at military targets, right? I don't think that's acceptable. It's just not acceptable. Because it doesn't matter how many terrorists you kill if you are in the IDF. It doesn't matter how many Israeli soldiers you kill if you're in Hamas or Hezbollah, or how many rockets you fire into Israel if you're Iran. It doesn't matter, because it's not going to change anything. It's not going to make the war stop. It's not going to make the carnage stop. It's not going to make the hate stop. What will work, and it's difficult, it takes a long time, it's a process, is working towards peace. It's sitting down and having negotiations. And that's the way all wars end, eventually. And it's not like there's two standing armies fighting each other on a battlefield like in the olden days. It's not like the Israelis can go into Gaza and take it like the Allies took Berlin. It doesn't work that way when you're dealing with terrorists. When there's no, centralized structure. There's no one person. If you take them out, then the whole organization falls apart. They've tried that. They've taken out the leader of Hezbollah. Did Hezbollah say, oh, well, that's it, we'll give up now? No, they haven't. They're still there. They're still fighting. And you've made more people join Hezbollah. Because if your mom or dad have been murdered, blown up, killed, whatever, by the Israelis, are you going to grow up thinking, do you know what I want more than anything in the world? Peace with Israel. No, you're not. You're going to grow up wanting revenge. And the cycle continues. And it's never going to end. And there's a religious dimension to it. So the people who are doing this, most of them think they're going to survive their own deaths. Which is something that I wish people didn't believe. I wish more people believed that this is it. And that life is precious. And of the 4.5 billion years that this planet has been here, and of the 13.7 billion years that this universe has been here, this is just like one little snap of your life on this planet. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Murdering people, being killed, in a war. For who's got the best invisible friend? I mean, come on. But I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't think I got any of the answers for this. I just wanted to I just wanted to say it's really, really, really upsetting, and I wish that leaders in the West, people that we have actually got influence over, would push for peace more. Because when asked about Israel, the standard answer from politicians is Israel's got a right to defend itself, which, technically speaking, it does. But also the people in the Middle East have a right to live in peace. And we need to be addressing that. Put pressure on the Israelis to go into negotiations. Get Saudi Arabia to be the mediator or whatever. Like, one of the reasons why this happened in the first place, and I'm going to read Puninator's super chat in a moment. I haven't forgot about it, mate. One of the reasons why this all kicked off now in the first place is because Saudi Arabia and Israel were looking to normalize relations, and the Palestinians know that if that happens, then their cause is pretty much over, as far as ever hoping to get back their homelands which were taken from them. They'll never ever get them back. The best they can hope for is the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, which isn't great. And it's sad in so many ways that if it wasn't for this stupid idea that I don't want to live on the same street as someone with a different religion, which is basically what the supporters of Hamas think and what the supporters of Netanyahu think, all right? So you've got these two zealots living side by side saying, I don't want to live anywhere near you. I don't want, which is ridiculous. Jerusalem is a mixed city. Jerusalem has thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people living there who are from different religious denominations, and they all live together. I know there's a Armenian quarter and there's the Jewish quarter, but generally speaking, like, people move about the city. They don't just stay in their one quarter. And I would like to see that across the whole of the Holy Land. Like, everyone living together, whether you are Armenian or Jewish or Catholic or Eritrean Christian or Muslim or Hindu, for Christ's sake. You can all live there. And it doesn't matter what religion you are, you can live there. Because you've got the Jews going, I want to live here up in these Golan Heights. And it's like, well, we don't want you to live there because that's really offensive to the people who live there. And it's like, well, can we do a deal where if we say that, you know, I can live in the Golden Heights and they can live in Tel Aviv? How about that? We all live together? Maybe this is just cloud cuckoo land. Maybe it can never, ever happen because those divisions are so entrenched. But I dream. I have a dream. And it involves the people of the Middle East just sitting down, eating some goddamn hummus and just having a discussion about it. The possibility of all living together in one land where they all feel safe, where they all feel free to practice their religion. You go to Jerusalem, one of the maddest things is you're not allowed to pray outside the Dome of the Mosque, the Dome of the Mount Mosque in Jerusalem. And there's footage that I've seen of a police officer, a Jewish police officer, going up to a Muslim man and saying, are you praying? The Muslim man's doing an interview for like a channel. Are you praying? It's like a Monty Python sketch. No? Better not be praying. I'm not praying. I'm just standing here. Yeah, well, don't be thinking of prayers. You're not allowed to pray here. It's against the law. Sweet Jesus. Anyway, thank you so much to Puninator. Going back to the religious thing there. Graham, read the subtext of the Bible. JC travelled with 12 disciples. It was clear he built his own Haman. Biggest LGBT plus story in history. Puninator. Yes. I've thought about that many times. I mean, why did they nail him up with his hands like that? I mean, he couldn't really defend himself, could he? Anyway, Netgirl Jimmy. Hi, thank you, Netgirl Jimmy, for the $5. Stop Project 2025 and Moms for Liberty. Peace in the Middle East and Putin out of Ukraine. Love from a Yank heathen. Thanks very much, Netgirl. Yeah, I wish that could be the case. I wish that we could enter a new positive world. And do you know what? It really did feel, and this is probably why it's so painful. It's like a sequel to a movie or a prequel being really bad to a really good movie. In 2009, so 15 years ago, world peace was so close. And you're not going to believe me now. You're just going to go, oh, Graham, you're talking bollocks, mate. You know, it's always been like, no. There were hardly any conflicts still going on in the world. Afghanistan and Iraq had basically turned into a frozen conflict. There wasn't much going on. This is before ISIS. The Middle East wasn't particularly kicking off. There had been free and fair elections in Gaza. Unfortunately, they'd voted for Hamas in 2006. But that was all simmering, it was all settling down. All the civil wars that had been raging throughout Africa, Rwanda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, which was Zaire, the Liberian War, the war in Sierra Leone when it spilled over from Liberia. These wars were all petering out. They were all ending because people were just exhausted and they kind of maybe have forgotten what they were fighting about in the first place. Angola, Mozambique. And then Burma, Myanmar seemed to be coming in from the cold. The military junta that had run the place with an iron fist for decades seemed to be chilling out and thinking maybe we should be a bit nicer to the people that we rule. All this stuff was going on. It was moving in the right direction. And I know it wasn't perfect. And there were still issues around the world, lots of them. And things weren't perfect. In 2008, Russia invaded Georgia, and no one stopped Russia stealing a third of all of Georgia. A third of their land. Did you imagine, like, some country turns up and takes all of the land of Britain all the way from the south coast up to Liverpool and says, this is ours now. We'll have that. Thank you. Really? Really? Would you stand for that? My God. Not including Wales, obviously. Net girl Jimmy says, my country's meddling has made things worse in the Middle East. Iran was actually getting more progressive back in the day, and we put in a new guy. That's true. To a certain extent, yeah, absolutely. In the 1970s, that's what the Americans did. No, it wasn't before. It was the 50s, wasn't it? When they put in the king, whose name I've forgotten now. God damn it. Well, it didn't have a title of a king. He had a different title. Shah. The Shah. That's it. The Shah. The Shah of Iran, who was deposed by the people of Iran for being a bit too chummy with the old oil companies and Western powers. And then the 1979, I think it was, the revolution that took place. But, even Iran in 2010 was a bit coming in from the cold. And the fact that I could go and travel as an independent traveller, I didn't need to have I could get a visa. It wasn't easy to get a visa, but I could get a visa. Didn't have to travel as part of a group. The fact that it was sort of opening up a little bit. And then we saw this with the negotiations about the nuclear deal, which was done with the Obama administration, which was fantastic. It meant that there was an opening, there was a dialogue, there was an Iranian guy and an American counterpart, and they would discuss stuff. I mean, there was movements. There was jaw, not war. And all these things. And I can't stop thinking about how close we were when I sat down a month before I started my journey to every country in the world in December of 2008. And I had to get insurance, right? And all your insurance, unless you pay for battle-face insurance, was like £500 a day or something ridiculous if you go into a war zone. All the insurance said was you can go to every country in the world unless it is specifically mentioned in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office that you can't go there. Or you go to a part of the country that the Foreign and Commonwealth Office says that you can't go to. In December of 2008, when I checked it up to make sure that I would be insured visiting all these places around the world, there was only one country, one, on the FCO list saying don't go to any part of this country, you won't be insured. And that was Somalia. At the height of the Somalian piracy pandemic. Pandemic? That's a bad way of putting it. Plague issue. And so that to me spoke volumes. And then I had these wonderful years of traveling where I just met people from all over the world, and they were lovely. Like, everyone was lovely. I just met hardly anyone who meant me harm. I didn't get robbed. I didn't get beaten up. I didn't get into a fight. I didn't get mugged anywhere in the world. I didn't even get ill, for Christ's sake. The people of the world didn't even let me get ill. If I was about to eat something that was going to, put me on my back for a week, they go, no, I don't need that. If I was going to walk down the street where I'll get mugged, people would run over to me, go, don't go down there. I mean, it didn't happen very often, but people didn't want me to get into mischief. They really didn't. And that to me is remarkable. I know I had a couple of run-ins with the law along the way, but that was both times. That was a misunderstanding, and I kind of get it. It did seem a bit weird. This sort of European guy turning up on his own in their country unannounced. I can see why they took it the wrong way. Especially when you've got people like, who was it? Was it Thatcher's kid, Mark Thatcher, trying to launch a coup in Equatorial Guinea? Do you remember that? Yeah, okay. Anyway, so yeah, I thought we were moving towards world peace. I thought we were moving towards a world that was going to do something about climate change. Don't forget, in 2009, Republicans believed in climate change. In the 2008 election, when Obama got elected, both candidates talked about what they were going to do about climate change. Republican senators talked about what they were going to do about climate change. They took it seriously. They went, ooh, heck. I'd look at the data, I'd look at the science, and said, if we keep doing this, we're going to have a Category 5 hurricane bearing down on slap bang in the middle of Florida before long, which is literally happening tomorrow. Tomorrow is now. We're here. We've entered that zone that the scientists warned us about of extreme weather. And you hadn't noticed it's been going on for quite some time, but it's getting more and more extreme. And I don't know when the storm surge is going to go down, to be honest with you. Like, that's my real worry about the storm surge. There might not be a Tampa. Like, seriously. And I mean, no grief to Tampa at all. It's a lovely place. The people there, majority of them voted for Biden in the last election, actually. Although, as a whole, Florida did vote for Trump. But, yeah, just the whole city could be leveled. Could be. Like, literally leveled. Like you've not seen. Because it isn't just wind blowing off the tops of buildings. This is a massive, massive amount of water. 15 foot, 20 foot, 25 foot high. You know, just crushing your house. Just crushing everything you've got. Just taking out your entire... Everything you've done. Everything you've done to make your house nice. Gone. Like that. Taken away. By the oil companies that have insisted on burning fossil fuels for the last 150 years when we didn't need to. So yeah, it's painful. Tomorrow is now, so do something before it's yesterday, says Anthony Fisher. Good way of putting it. The land grab already happened to Wales. Yeah, it's true. If having the Tories in for 14 years taught me anything, is that we are not our governments, says Duke Vengeance. Couldn't agree more. Travelling made me realise that. You know, Venezuela, the nicest people in Venezuela, shit government. Iran, lovely, lovely people. Lovely, well-educated, really polite, really generous, lovely people everywhere I went in Iran. And it wasn't like I just stepped over the border and came back. I went to Mashhad, a couple of days there, time in Tehran. I went down to Shiraz. I went to Persepolis. I went to Qamishar and the Shatalawa waterway. Like, you know, I travelled around the country. I spoke to a lot of... So many people spoke really great English, which is very impressive considering the country at the time had been under all kinds of embargoes for a very, very long time. But they seemed to invest in their people. And Ahmadinejad, I think, was the leader at the time when I was there. How did they get rid of him? Was it a coup? Was there a revolution? No, they just had an election. They had an election and just they got a new president. Because that's the way it works in Iran. Although, you know, they can't choose a new supreme leader of the church. America doesn't see its own beauty beyond that which they prescribe, as it seems to me. The US has some of the most glorious environments from around the world in one country, yet too few value that. Yeah, you know, they don't. For a country that prides itself on the wilderness and going out and shooting bears or whatever they want to do, like, one part of that is supposed to be looking after the environment. You often see this where hunters, people who like to go out and forage in the forests and bivouac down for the night, they tend to also go hand in hand with wanting to maintain that environment and wanting to maintain that forest or the pristine wilderness or wherever it is, the desert. Well, you know, they don't want it messed up. And yet that same mentality, the same people, I should say, not mentality, the same people are now voting for Trump. Because he's like, I'm going to give you all a gun at birth. I'm going to stop women from having abortions. So, you know, even if they're going to die, we'll just let them die. That'll be fun. Even in case of incestual rape, I'm just going to let them die or have the baby. Because women aren't being punished enough after being brutally sexually assaulted. They need to be punished more and more forever, which seems to be the MAGA way. And the fact that you've got 70 million Americans next month are going to vote for Donald Trump. 70 million of them are like, yeah, I like the sound of that. Torturing American women to death. Brilliant. Withholding life-saving medicine from women, American women. Oh, yeah, sign me up. I think someone said it in the chat earlier. America's Taliban. Anyway, Puninator says, due to my disability, traveling is a hassle for me that I don't do it much. But I'm a big globalist at heart because the best way to progress as a species is together. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we are a migratory species. People who are prejudiced to the level of their race, which is a made-up concept, but this idea that their DNA is superior to someone else's DNA, I assume if you're European, because 1% of your DNA is Neanderthal, so you're not really a pure Homo sapien. If you want a pure Homo sapien, go to Ethiopia. That's where the pure Homo sapiens came from. We're a mongrel race up here in Europe because we are 1% Neanderthal DNA. Yay, we interbred with our cousin species of humans. So were they a different species? Maybe just a different breed. Maybe they're a different breed of humans, along with Homo erectus and Homo florenthus, whatever the hobbit people of Flores in Indonesia were called. Maggie Pie, thank you very much for the 20 Swedish krona. That's very kind of you. Netanyahu is Putin evil. Our leaders support him. Yep, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I think the whole reason why Netanyahu's doing what he's doing is because he doesn't want to go to jail. Same with Trump. Same with Musk. It's remarkable, isn't it? Yeah. But going back to sort of people who think of themselves as like superior in some way because of where they were born. Some random coordinates of longitude and latitude where they popped out their mum through no fault of their own. You know, some random accident of birth makes them superior to someone else who was born in a slightly different coordinates of longitude and latitude. Yes. And you're like, oh, really? What? How does that even work? How does it work that, someone from France, right, who lives further away from Kent than I do, right? Closer. Someone in northern France lives closer to Kent than I do. I live further away. And yet they think I've got more in common with them than the French person who they live closer to. And I'm like, how does that work? Seriously, we're all humans. We are literally all humans. Oh, but they all speak the same language. Are you kidding me? Have you been to Durham? The people here, I mean, you're doing well if you can understand 1 in every 5 words they're saying. I assume they're speaking English, but gosh, it's not easy. Not easy. Anyway, the people who think that they are superior because they stay in the one place for all their life and they're very proud of that one place. They stay in their village, they marry their sister, and they're very proud of that fact. I think that is inhuman, because I see us as a migratory species. We move around. There is some compulsion in us, or at least in 50% of the population, obviously it's not in everybody, to move, to go to pastures new. That wanderlust, that desire to see other places and other things, to breathe different air, to experience different things that you can't experience back at home. And enough of us have that I think that is an innate part of being human. And I would absolutely hate it if some rich, posh, aristocratic wank socks who have all the money in the world so they can go and live anywhere in the world took my right to wander around my own continent freely and without let nor hindrance. If they took that away from me, I'll be mad as hell. Oh, fuck me, they did. Welcome to the Brexit, sir. Anyway, right, sounds like Sunderland, indeed. Grim, how long have you lived up here, says Billy Kershaw. 5 years now. 7 years. No, 6 years. 6 years. About 6 years. Honestly, I've got to say this, and you're going to think, bloody hell, Graham. So I can draw a map of the world from memory. I mean, it's not entirely accurate, but it's about right. With all 197 countries marked on it. And there were all states are in America. I was asked to give a talk at Durham University in 2017 at the Student Union, and I had to look up where Durham was. I didn't know. I thought it was down south. I just heard the word Durham and I associated it with the university. I didn't associate it with coal mines until I got here. I had to look up how to get to Durham, and it's the last stop before Newcastle normally, unless you stop at Chesterley Street. But yeah, embarrassing but true. I've also never been to Stonehenge. I've been all around the world, and I haven't been to Stonehenge, as Lisa Stansfield never sang. Don't tell them. I've lived up here for longer than I lived down south. says Vendetta. Well, you're one of us now. Well done. Given you're in Durham, have you blindly visited Barnard's Castle or kicked Mr. Cummings in the balls? Well, we have a little tradition when we go past the Cummings residence, which is on the A167, not far from where I live. His parents probably use the same Lidl as I do. I wind down the window as we go past, his family's estate and shout twat at them. But yes, I wouldn't advise driving from here to Barnard Castle to get your eye test because it's a 45-minute drive down really dangerous A roads. Like, you go down roads, country lanes that are like one lane, but it's 60 miles an hour and no one knows why. Yeah, it's getting to Barnard Castle it's not easy. It's not like there's a nice straight motorway. It's not. It's one of the most dangerous things I could possibly imagine someone doing to test their eyesight. Other than, I don't know, firing an AK-47 around a school class. Durham, the posh end of Newcastle. Well, come here on a Saturday night, mate. You won't be saying that. Graham, you never visited the stone circles in Dartmoor, in Devon, then either. Sorry, one angry pagan. I will make it down to Cornwall at some point in my life. I promise. It will happen. Just got back in the house with a beer. Did I miss much? Says Tim Ballon. No, don't think so. Right, I'm going to go. There you go. That was all right, wasn't it? Ollie will be back next week, I hope. After I have my interrogation at the American Embassy on next Tuesday morning. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, I'll be back in the morning at 9:30. And also, what will be back tomorrow is Prime Minister's Questions at 12 o'clock. And hopefully we'll be doing an episode of The Intersection. But I need to talk to Rachel and make sure that we have sorted that out. But we'll definitely be doing Morning Brew in the morning at 9:30. And we'll be definitely doing PMQ's Watch Party. If you'd like to watch that along with me and shout at things, talk over people talking, upset people in the chat. Stop talking over the people talking, Graham. And I'm like, watch it on Parliament TV. No one talks over it. It's fine. Other channels are available. Pollinator, just before we go, thank you very much. The local dickhead to me is the old MP, Andrew Bridgen. I had great fun in posting him a fake P45 during the election campaign. It felt good. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. He'd probably need that now, wouldn't he? I know Andrew Gullis does. Jonathan Gullis. Jonathan Gullis, Stoke-on-Trent. Oh dear me. Right, thanks very much for watching. Thanks so much for the chat. Thanks for the super chats. Join me in the morning at 9:30 when we'll try and put the world to rights again. And for more of a British view of the world. Obviously, give a like on the way out, because I always forget to ask for likes. Because they're important somehow. I don't know how, but they are important. And until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.